Ja, einen wunderschönen Vormittag, meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, und willkommen zu unserem Webinar Proptech und Nachhaltigkeit in den Nordics. Wie kommen die nordischen Länder mittels Digitalisierung zu einer grüneren Bau- und Immobilienbranche, ist die Frage, mit der wir uns in den nächsten knappen 60 Minuten auseinandersetzen werden. My name is Cosima Steiner. I'm the Austrian Commercial Councillor here in Denmark. I switched to English, as you might have noticed, because the webinar language for today is English. I welcome you all, and I also would like to welcome our expert speakers from 5 different countries. I will introduce them a bit later as we go along, because we're a bit cut for time. I'm also sending my greetings from my colleague, Martin Klatz, the Commercial Councillor in Stockholm, with whom we are co-organizing this event. He will not be on screen today because, again, we don't have that much time, but he does send his regards. But I look forward to a power hour of information about PropTech and sustainability in the Nordic countries. Let's have a quick look at the agenda. It will be really very quick. Each and every presenter has about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less, so a little bit also for Q&A right after each presentation. We'll start with Denmark, moving on to Sweden. Then we'll have a testimonial from an Austrian company, afterwards Norway, and finally we will wrap it up with Finland. While we're organizing this webinar, well, the building and the real estate sector are, of course, under huge pressure to become more sustainable, and here the Nordics are no exception. However, the Nordics are always a good place to look for inspiration, as they're also on the forefront of digitization and have a very ambitious climate agenda, and they see digitization and automatization as key factors, key enabling factors to becoming more sustainable. But that's it from me for now. I'll be your moderator, your master of ceremony throughout the webinar, so you will see me on and off, introducing the speakers as we go along, and maybe also raising one or the other question. But for now and for the next 10 minutes, I call on Jakob Stohmann, who is here in Denmark, just a couple of kilometers down the road from where I am. He's the hub director of Proptech Denmark, which is an industry association, but also an accelerator, if I understand correctly, for Proptech companies here in Denmark. He'll give you an overview of the Proptech ecosystem and also of the trends and innovations that are happening in the sector here in Denmark. Jakob, the floor is yours, and I'll see you in about 10 minutes or so.
Thank you very much, Cosima, for introducing me, and thanks for inviting me to this webinar. I'll give you a short overview of Proptech in Denmark, and Proptech, of course, with the focus on sustainability and the business possibilities in this field. First of all, just a short introduction to Proptech Denmark. We are a non-profit membership organization, and we gather around 120 members, representing both Proptech startups, established tech suppliers, and the entire established real estate sector. That means owners, investors, operators, brokers, advisors, and so on. Our activities and services consist of a lab, which is an innovation and co-working space dedicated especially to Proptech startups. We have, of course, a lot of community and networking events, and then we have our academy where we try to train the capabilities of the real estate sector into digital transformation and innovation. And basically, what Proptech Denmark is about, our main aim, our main goal, is to accelerate digital transformation and digital innovation in real estate. I'm Jakob, and I'm the hub director, being together with the Proptech Denmark since May last year. So our lab and also our secretariat, where I'm sitting right now, is placed in Blokshub in Copenhagen. And the reason why I mentioned this, I think it's also interesting for you to know, it's a hub, it's a building, of course, but it's first of all a hub that actually gathers, I think, more than 100 organizations and companies that works broadly with sustainable urban development. So not only Proptech, but sustainable urban development in general. So I'm also neighbors to the Danish Architecture Center and the Danish Design Center as examples. So we have a really dense and broad network within sustainability here in our premises in Copenhagen. I've already said that we are around 120 members, including both large established real estate players and a lot of smaller Proptech startups. So first, I will take you to give you an overview of the Danish Proptech ecosystem. Then I'll go in to talk about real estate and sustainability and the role that Proptech plays here, and of course also in this some of the business possibilities that are in Denmark at the moment. So an overview of the Danish Proptech ecosystem. We have around 150 startups. Actually, I've written 150 here, just doing a new count, and I think we are up passing 170 Proptech startups that you can say have business models and solutions for all parts of the real estate value chain. The key business verticals, if you look at our startups where we're really strong, is property management, asset management, it's sustainable business operation, and then it's within co-living and community. And of course, today I will focus on the sustainable business operations. Last year we had 170 million Danish kroner. It's 25 million euros investments in Danish Proptechs. This year we already exceeded that number, so we see a good growth, also investments in Danish Proptech. Looking at the real estate sector, it's also a big one, important one for the economy in Denmark. It creates jobs for more than 170,000 people, and we have to remember that Denmark is a rather small country with only 6 million inhabitants, and the real estate sector generates a revenue for 350 billion Danish kroner a year. So it's quite a big and very important sector in Denmark, and also, as I'll explain a little later on, of course plays a crucial role in sustainable transition in Danish policies. Danish real estate, Danish Proptech is really centered in Copenhagen, as you can see. The key verticals for Danish Proptech startups, where their business models and where their solutions are, is within operations and management. And it's also there we see the big chunk of sustainable Proptech solutions. We also have a bit of smart city and mobility, a lot of e-mobility that is actually closely connected to the real estate sector. There's a really good moment for Danish Proptechs, or for Proptech in general in Denmark. It's of course not only Danish Proptech being present at the market here. I think just going a couple of years back, everybody was saying in Denmark, Proptech, what is that? And does it really make a difference? Digital solutions, will we really need these in real estate? But today, this has really changed. We see a really big interest. Proptech is on the top agenda of real estate companies, and we have asked Proptech companies in Denmark how they have experienced growth back in 2020. And as you can see, most of them have had quite high growth rates. So really good, I would say, window of opportunity right now in the Danish market for digital solutions for real estate in general. So now we come to the sustainability part. First of all, some words on real estate and sustainability in Denmark. I would say that right now there's a really green political momentum for the built environment in Denmark. First of all, I would like to emphasize that in 2019 Denmark adopted a new climate law, and yes, it's a law that commits Denmark to reach 70% below its 1990 carbon emissions, and we have to reach that by 2030. So we are really in a hurry. So please, if you have any good solutions, come to Denmark. We also have a new national strategy for sustainable build, which is part of reaching the goal for 2030. This entails, among others, for more climate-friendly construction and civil engineering. It's about high-quality, durable buildings. It's about resource-efficient construction. It's about energy-efficient and healthy buildings, and it's about digital-supported construction. Also, looking at the landscape, we see a lot of Danish pension funds that invest into real estate, as well as municipalities that are strongly dedicated to lowering emissions, and many of them are on the look for solutions that can green their buildings and cities. And this is not only new build, this is also retrofit, it's also in building operations. So it's a whole value chain where we are looking to cut carbon emissions. And also Copenhagen aims to be the world's first carbon neutral capital already by 2025. So we're in a hurry and are on the look for solutions. Just an example of one of the projects going on. It's a small one, but I think it's a good example. In Copenhagen, we are designing and building what we call a UN 17 village. So that will be the first building project in the world to translate all 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals actually into tangible action. So this is just one of the many projects going on in Denmark. There are also many municipalities, many public actors having a living lab and carbon neutral projects going on, also looking into their building portfolios. So many good business possibilities at the moment. So zooming in on not just real estate, but Proptech specifically, that would say, the technology suppliers. Denmark is home to, I would say, a really strong and well-established Proptech scene when it comes to sustainability. Denmark has a long track record in designing and developing and innovating within technology and sustainability. So I would say that Proptech, of course, is a new phenomenon, but actually looking a little bit back, we've had a lot of technology providers for sustainability in the real estate sector. We have more than 50 new Proptech startups that provide innovative solutions and do things in new ways. But we also have a handful of, I would say, already world-leading established solution providers within energy management and smart metering. I've put some examples here. Some of them you might know: Danfoss, Grundfos, Kamstrup, and Brunata that have been around here, some of them for almost 100 years. So looking at the key verticals, and which is basically also the business opportunities in sustainable Proptech in Denmark. Many are really looking for energy management solutions, smart metering, intelligent energy optimization. In Denmark, we have really done a lot. You can say with the climate envelopes of our buildings, we've invested a lot of money in insulation, better windows, and so on. So the next level, really to reach our goal and cutting emissions in our buildings, is really to use technology and digital solutions. Indoor climate is, of course, also possibilities, increasing focus on that, as in most part of the world. And I think the reason why I put it here, because indoor climate is maybe not something to do with sustainability per se, but it's very closely connected to the whole energy management agenda. So it's today, I think it's really hard to suggest a solution or provide a solution if you don't have, both the energy management and the indoor climate aspect in your solution. Then we also see there's a lot of actors asking for integration technology that can help integrate renewable energy sources. We have a lot of and increasingly a lot of renewable energy sources in our energy system in Denmark. A lot of wind power, but also increasingly solar power, solar cells placed in buildings. So we need to integrate these smartly and intelligent in our system. There's also a lot of companies within e-mobility. So this is more like, smart solutions that can ease the access to charging, that can integrate renewable energy sources into the e-mobility net. Many think that e-mobility is maybe not part of the real estate sector, but actually we see in Denmark that the ones rolling it out now are real estate investors, the owners of big properties, and even private housing associations are now rolling out e-mobility solutions for the tenants. Then, of course, also circular economy and sustainable construction. It's a key focus area, circular economy and sustainable construction for the Danish government. It's a really hard one to crack. So all kinds of solutions here are really welcome. There's actually also now a governmental hackathon going on within circular construction and digital solutions. And then ESG reporting is very important. Our pensions funds especially, and also many investors are looking for efficient ways of measuring the climate impact, because first thing is you want to lower your climate impact is to measure it and really know what your climate impact is. So smart reporting and measuring solutions are also very welcome. Also, another thing, if you are a startup or project company looking for investments, we've just seen the rise of a new investment fund here at 2150, which invests in decarbonization. So also good possibilities for seeking investments in as a project startup in Denmark. So just shortly, the last one. If you're looking to come to Denmark, we can help you. We can provide soft landing services. We have an international membership that we can help you into the real estate sector in Denmark, of course, especially with the technology focus. We also collaborate with Copenhagen Capacity, our inward investment agency, on soft landing services, talent attraction, set up a business, all the practical stuff. So last things, we have a Nordic Proptech Awards coming up where you can apply if you're interested in the Nordic markets. So go to Nordic Proptech Awards, our homepage there, and sign up for the newsletter and stay tuned.
Thank you very much,
That's
Jakob.
all for me.
Yeah. We have just one quick question, but I think you partly answered it already. Any current projects that combine e-mobility and building operations you can name? I think you
yes. Yes. It's not that we have like that I can like a governmental project or anything, but actually we have several members that are within e-mobility that provide solutions within e-mobility. And they've seen that the ones that they really need to get in contact with are the real estate owners, because this is where a lot of the charging, you can say, infrastructure is put up now. A lot of private housing association, a lot of social housing association, but also office buildings and everywhere they're interested in getting access to flexible e-mobility infrastructure.
Well,
so we are helping
Jakob.
some of the companies to get into the real estate sector because they don't really know it.
Super, thank you. Then the second question is not a question but a statement. We have the solution for Jakob. So there you go. I think there's a company
looking forward.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jakob. I have to watch the time a little bit.
It was a pleasure.
So moving on north
Thanks.
to Sweden. Have a good day still. Moving north to Sweden, and I welcome Jonas Frage. You're the project leader at the Royal Institute of Technology, and you have Live-in Lab, which is a test bed for Proptech solutions. And we look forward to what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to talk here. So, my name is Jonas Frage, and I will go directly into what I'm going to talk about. But first, a few key numbers about KTH then. As you see here, 14,000 students, 1,700 PhD students, and 3,600 full-time positions. And I'm one of them then. But I'm going to talk about KTH Live-in Lab. And the thing is that we have developed a physical infrastructure, let's say, to perform research and to test new technologies. And this in order to accelerate innovation and make smart and sustainable buildings possible. So we have 3 test beds right now. Down to the left, you see testbed KTH, building permit-free area where we can reshape without taking the Swedish building regulations into account, only following the laws. And then in the middle, we have testbed Einer, 305 student apartments in the 3+ energy buildings. And to the right, you have a testbed Akademiska hus. It's an education building, perfect for doing studies and tests where you don't want to mess too much with GDPR and so on, and ethical approval. They are all connected to our database or data pool, where we store and share data from these buildings and from different systems. And also results from earlier projects, so that one researcher can start where the first one stopped, let's say. And the third thing is that we're a collaboration platform where we try to match industry with academia. So if there is a researcher that would like to do some tests, we combine them with a company that has proper technology to do that, and vice versa. And in theory, so due to the fact that we're a university, we work with these theories. So this is strategic niche management. This is how we look at innovation journeys, let's say. We test technologies in our test beds. If they function, we put them up into real buildings and continue to do tests. If they actually function there and prove to be sustainable, then we get validated results and can propose changes in the building codes, regulations. We can also work with behavior and norms. And then we can get a pressure from the landscape level, from regulations, to transform the whole built environment. So it's kind of the underlying theory behind why we do this. Currently, we have around 18 ongoing projects, 70 partners, and I would just name a few of them so you understand what we can do in the Living Lab. But first, a few words about the testbed KTH. So it's 300 square meter, and as you can see, it's all modular. So here we can put in whatever sensor, whatever technology that we would like. Connected taps, movable floors, bathroom pods, explosive-proof basement. That was what one researcher wanted, etc. And this can be used not only for technology, but also to look at plans, layouts. So for 2 years, we had 4 different apartments here with their own kitchen and bathroom. Then we took away the middle walls and made a co-living, but still with 4 bathrooms. And here we went from 80 to 67 private percentage area, but we increased the public space from 20 to 37. Now maybe the figures were a bit wrong there, but so we got the whole corridor, we got value on that. Before it was just a dead corridor. But this summer we rebuilt again, and now we have 2 bathrooms, share 1 bathroom for 2 rooms. So we will also look into saving energy and resources by co-living. And in theory, we get up to 50% lower CO2 emissions from co-living than normal apartments. And if you get into technology projects, we will have projects about, for example, building automation and adaptive control strategies. So here is one project that uses all the technology in our testbed KTH to develop a smart learning algorithm with fault detection and adaptive control. And then we use that when we produce new buildings in Uppsala together with Botrygg. So they will produce one building, smart, and exactly the similar building, dumb. So then we will see if we can reduce resource usage by means of automation, or if it is as efficient to put up angry signs in the hallways or in the laundry rooms, and close your windows and turn off your lights or whatever. I mean, it's not always good to install things if they don't work. I mean, you need to dig up this material, etc. But if it works, then it's a huge benefit, of course. Another project is we use these aura rings to measure heart rate and sleep patterns, etc., and develop services. So this researcher has gotten results from 5 to 10% electricity and water reduction and 10 to 15% user experience increase. So I don't have time to go into details, but you can follow the links here later on. And a third one that hasn't started yet is to use sonic interaction to reduce energy use in buildings. So instead of those annoying beeps from fridges and stoves, etc., you can actually work with better sounds. I mean that make you behave in a sustainable way. But just one barrier I would like to discuss here is systems and business models. I mean, we have hundreds of different systems, and to connect these systems into one system that actually make value for both building owner, technology provider, building users, etc. That's so far still not totally easy, let's say. It's rather the opposite. So that has to work in order to get all the value from this. And also that we have sensors that could give value in operation phase, but not give value when you sell the building. So you need to also align business models with technology. If you want to work with us, just go into our homepage, livinlab.kth.se, and write into collaboration and submit an idea. Then we start with building trust. We share vision, develop a shared vision. We do the tests, we communicate together, and then we store and share data and results. So that's, I tried to be speed up here to save time for you. So I'm finished here.
Thank you very much, Jonas. We do have a little bit of leeway towards the end, so it's fine. Actually, we also have a room for a question by a company. Can we? It's an Austrian company. Can we also use your lab for to test our technologies?
Yes, we have so far been in a phase where we mostly reached out to Swedish companies, but we have been working with, for example, Sydney University. We have been working with the Max Planck Institute in Berlin and so on, and we are also collaborating with AMS Institute and TU Delft, also MIT and Harvard in different things. But so far we haven't had companies from other countries, but that would be lovely. So we're trying to apply for this European network of living lab as well, but we have so many things to do, but I'd rather do projects than communicate about them, so just contact us.
Super. Tusen Tag. Thank you very much, Jonas. So we're moving on and actually leaving the Nordics for a couple of minutes, shaking things up a little bit with a testimonial by an Austrian PropTech company. And I welcome Ibrahim Imam, who is the co-CEO and co-founder of company Plan Radar. You're a PropTech company that has successfully entered the Nordic market. If I'm not mistaken, you also have a subsidiary in Stockholm from where you are active in the Nordics. We very much look forward to your view of the PropTech market in the Nordics and also, of course, of the doing business in the Nordics from your experience. Thank you very much, Ibrahim.
Great. Thank you so much, and warm welcome to all the participants. Thank you to the organizers for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I would say it's not yet a success story per se, but I would say we have early signs of success in the Nordics, because I think it's too early to call it like really, you know, the final success story. But we have great learnings that I wanted to share. So I will cover 2 points in my small pitch or presentation. First, I want to give you a small intro about what Plan Radar does. And second, I would like to elaborate some stereotypes, how we in our little Austria think about maybe the Nordics in the first place and how they turned out to be true, or what our learnings are. So yeah, what Plan Radar does is basically what we see all over Europe, and it's not only I think in the examples as you can see here, the Berlin-Brandenburg airport or the Tottenham Stadium in the UK, but also we see that the failed projects or cost exploded projects in all of the countries all over Europe. And when we analyze them, most of them have common problems. So there is insufficient and incomplete communication, a lot of phone calls, emails, etc. There's also inconsistent versioning and information opacity, as well as there are needs in such big projects as well as in small projects, and regulations require documentation, which turn out to be quite complex in the larger the project is. And we have focused on that kind of projects or problems, and try to solve this with Plan Radar. So what Plan Radar does, it's a SaaS solution, software as a service solution, a platform that is cloud-based, that enables and eases collaboration on site, especially. It's BIM ready. It allows you to upload your BIM models, your blueprints onto the web platform. It syncs automatically to all the mobile devices. So when the construction site manager, for example, is on site, or the facility manager within the facility that he or she manages, they can easily access all the information. And yeah, we see that our users report 7-hour time savings per week. And also, I think our focus is really on being a very easy and easy to adapt solution. So we see onboarding, we have measured onboardings of new users in less than 10 minutes. And what makes us unique, I think, in the market or in Europe especially, is that our software becomes so flexible that it can be used not only in the construction phase, but also in the planning and also in the operations phase. So it allows everybody who uses PlanRadar to custom PlanRadar and the software in a self-service mode to perfectly match their own processes. Just some screenshots here. So yeah, in the planning phase, for example, you can, for example, collaborate on a blueprint and with your coworkers. In the construction phase, where communication often is key, we have kind of built in WhatsApp, but with the difference that it's documented and for all the and trackable for all the parties involved in such a project. And also in the operation phase, when it's sometimes you have needs, for example, for special reportings or solving defects that you found on site or in the building, then you can also do that on a push of a button. Yeah, so far our traction is we have won more than 11,000 clients from over, in the meantime, 50 countries. So Albania recently become the 50th country to work with PlanRadar, and we have around 12,000 new companies signing up every month for PlanRadar and trying it out. So we have a free trial model, so you can try it out for 30 days for free, and then you can decide if you want to go on with a paid version or not. Some of the projects that were done with PlanRadar all over Europe. So this, for example, is an office building in Germany, or this one, for example, is the underground construction in Vienna. Or this one, for example, also in tourism is built and maintained this hotel in Porec in Croatia with PlanRadar. Yeah, so we have gone quite fast in our expansion strategy, and we have opened 11 sites all over Europe. Recently in Sweden as well, in Stockholm. And yeah, this leads us, since we are somehow also limited in time, I would like to share, of course, a lot of more information maybe after the presentation also with you, but maybe just some I tried to make the following slides a little bit funny as well and combine that with some serious learnings that we gathered over the first year being in Sweden. So why the Nordics? Yeah, stereotype number one, and I picked the 7 top stereotypes I found on the internet, as well as I talked to my team, like what were the stereotypes when we started thinking about the Nordics. So yeah, blonde hair, blue eyes. So we were proven to be wrong. Our first team was 50% brown hair and brown eyes, 25% blonde hair and brown eyes, and 25% bald head and blue eyes. So yeah, our first stereotype was proved to be wrong. Second, yeah, everyone's house looks like an IKEA showroom. Yes, for sure, IKEA is, I think, one of the strongest brands in the Nordics, or maybe the strongest. But we found out that especially for PropTech companies, all those great brands that are global leaders in their segment usually run their own in-house construction, real estate, and also FM or facility management departments. And for companies like us, I mean, at the moment, we can say that we are proud to have won IKEA and H&M, so the top 2 brands according to that list in Sweden, and we're working with them, and we're looking forward to the others as well. So I think great logos, great companies all over the Nordics. Third stereotype. So when we started, actually, we thought, okay, Nordics is more or less like DACH. It's Germany, Austria, Switzerland, more or less same language, maybe some nuances, but also there we were proven to be wrong. So we started out of Sweden to push out to all the 4 of the 5 Nordic countries, according to that definition. So we tried to penetrate Norway as well as Sweden and Denmark and Finland with the same pace. But we found out starting or very early actually that refocusing on one of the countries, and since we have selected Sweden and Stockholm as our first country to start with, makes more sense. And we, based on this recalibration of the strategy, we found also that it was more successful up so far. Yeah, another stereotype number 4, or Nordics are wealthy. Yeah, I can confirm that nobody has a problem with our pricing. So this is the happy side of the story. But also we see that people who have a lot of money or have or companies that have a lot of money, they spend their money wisely, which is good because we are a kind of productivity tool for companies. So, but when it comes to a sales cycle, we see that compared to other regions that we have expanded, it takes a little longer. And so building a strong pipeline, I would say, is key in the Nordics. Stereotype number 5, and this is really not in any means of a political discussion now, but some stereotypes that you find in the internet also, that Nordic countries tend to be very socialist. I think for us as a tech company, we see that maybe taxation is quite high, but also employees get great benefits in reward. And we see as a tech company that attracting talent in our space anyway is a war for talent always. And some of the core values, that we initially have learned from our team over there, like equality, openness, mutual respect, trust and transparency, very much aligns with our company tech value or our values as a tech company. And so for that, I see great benefits actually for us. Stereotype number 6, and I hope to be fast to not to keep the time line as well, is a high level of education. We were really surprised by, almost native language level in English, not that broken German, Austrian as I have. And also we see that BIM, which is, I think, a key technology or key standard in our industry, is quite advanced in the Nordics. And I think the chart on the right speaks for itself. So in the top 10, 3 of the Nordic countries are there with a high education index. And what we also have seen is that our hiring somehow had to recalibrate it, because we have seen that great talent, and especially in the Nordics, turned out to be really passionate about what they do. And but you also need to, when attracting that talent, you need to recalibrate your job ads, in all ways, I would say, to really have a good on eye level how to attract that talent. And stereotype number 7, as you can see, Vicky the Viking and Abba there. At the moment, I have no more learnings to share, but I'm happy to continue the journey. And I think always having as a local team member, I would say the VKO or the ABO on the ground is always of great help. And we see this actually in all the countries as well. And those who want to thank Cosima and her team especially for being there for us as an Austrian company.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Also, thank you much for the roses you gave us there. There's one question: why did you choose Stockholm specifically and not Oslo, Helsinki, Copenhagen in my case?
I think all great cities. Great question, by the way. We just took it from a very practical point of view, like how flights connections are maybe the best, like being centered in Sweden, as well as according to numbers, Sweden turned out to be the most fitting country for our technology, and we already had clients in Sweden first. So all of that factors combined, I think, led to the decision to open the Stockholm office.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. There's one more, but very technical question. We'll refer this question to you afterwards. I think that'll be easier to answer. Cool. Thanks a lot. We're moving back to the Nordics, and I welcome Renate Straume from company Varik in Norway. It's a Proptech company that actually works towards making property management more sustainable. You're very involved in projects, in big projects and substantial projects in Norway in that respect. You'll give us an insight into your technology, of course, but also into the Norwegian ecosystem. So we might very much look forward to your presentation, Renate. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. So Varik works with sustainability in the built environment, and we literally call ourselves a sustainability software for commercial real estate. And I wasn't spending that much time on Varik, but I think that looking at why we are working within this space is an interesting perspective. So when we look at the built environment, it obviously has a huge impact on sustainability in the world. If you see 40% of global energy consumption comes from the construction and property industries, 40% of global CO2 emissions, actually a little less, but it's being argued that it's rising, is from building buildings and using buildings and decommissioning buildings. And then you come to the resource consumption. 40% of global resource consumption comes from mostly building buildings, but also rehabilitating buildings and to some degree using buildings. So all that means to me is that there's a huge potential by making small tweaks now in the beginning in this industry will have a big impact if you can make it on a broad scale, which is why technology is kind of magic in this sense. So within Norway, we've seen a definite sort of momentum change in the last couple of years. We're moving from this perspective that it's easier and more sustainable, well, read cost effective to demolish a building, towards sort of seeing what can we reuse when we are rebuilding for a new need. The refurbishment rate, I mean, you need to keep on top of your buildings, but every time you need a new tenant, you get a new tenant every 5 years. Do you need to sort of tear everything out and put some new stuff in? A lot of people are focusing on that as sort of, can we find a happy medium? And earlier, the material usage was not really that much in focus. It was more an energy consumption focus. I mean, don't misunderstand me, energy is important, but not to the extent where you spend so much on rebuilding a building to lower your energy consumption that you can never pay it back if you look at the sustainability of the action. So sustainable facilities management is very much becoming the norm. You are, as a facilities manager of buildings, you are focused on seeing how can you make this building as efficient as possible, how can you lower your energy consumption, how can you sort your waste better, etc., etc. And the circular wave and the circular awareness is definitely growing. We have some really good examples of circular buildings in Oslo right now, where you have a building that was more or less added to an old building. They rebuilt the old building and everything is reused, from the concrete slabs that was used from the old governmental building, etc. And sustainability is very much gone from a nice to have to an essential part of the real estate industry in Norway. It's not like everyone is there yet, but it's very much becoming, it's becoming that way. So what you see is that these trends are supported. They're supported by the tenants. The tenants also have to report on sustainability. The tenants also have to show to both their employees and their clients how they are working on sustainability. And the banks are demanding it. If they're going to give you that top end loan with the best rate, then you're going to have a green building. And now, luckily, the EU taxonomy has come on board. Disagree with the details or agree with the details, it's had a massive impact on sustainability in the built environment or in real estate. It's just half a year moving to today, the awareness surrounding this has been increasing tenfold every month. So what does it actually mean that the EU taxonomy has changed how people look at this? Well, traditionally, people have very much looked at the sustainability of a environmental sort of action will it pay itself back and be good for the environment? So they've looked at the single action. So does it reduce the cost enough for us to actually spend money on this? Normally you can check it. And then if we buy a system, do we save enough time that we spend following stuff up? Yep, okay, check. But the increased focus on sustainability from tenants, research shows that the reason a tenant stays with you, the single most important reason that they stay is good communications. And good communication surrounding sustainability is hugely important. And it's very much doable these days through great systems, not just Varig, but obviously we do that. And then access to green loans or insurance, bonds, etc. Actually move the choice of, do you do something in your building to increase your sustainability? It moves that choice from being just a part of your facilities management management up into your finance department. So the CFO suddenly the sort of is their value in this changed, because the value of your company suddenly becomes impacted on, does your sustainability on a building level increase from year to year, and can you say that you are EU green or not? Because down the line, in a year or so, that's the measurement. Are you EU green? And the EU taxonomy right now is manageable. It's like, yeah, it's complex, but not that complex. That will change as the annexes that they add, the descriptions, the rule sets that they add increase. So it's, don't wait, get on top of the EU taxonomy now. It's a huge, huge thing. And if you want international investors, being a Norwegian property or real estate company, you have to control your data. Luckily, that's not that hard in Norway, because Norway has one central hub where you can get your electricity data digitally, and any company can connect to it. They just need to do their homework and get licensed. So that sets us up in a world where digitized information for buildings is available on a much, much broader scale. If I want to collect data on your sorting rate on the building level, that's easy. So systems get to grow in Norway, and I think also the same is true in Denmark, in an environment that it's fairly mature in the sense that you can get data on a sufficient level of accuracy. You can measure it continuously, and that means that you can build new services with a mature customer group, which is why Norway is kind of a good growth area for companies like Varig, because we can learn in an environment with a mature customer group, and then go out of Norway and see if who out there is ready for this. And then we come out with a mature offering. So Varig, literally, we give you the overview of how sustainable your building is, and we make it super easy to report on it. So I will definitely be talking to Jacob afterwards about the ESG vertical that they have in Denmark, because we slot right into that one. In addition, we're really focused on communication. So how can you engage the building user to make more sustainable choices in everyday life? That's one of our key offerings that separates us a little bit from everyone else. Now, what about the PropTech in Norway? I mean, it is booming to the degree where it's actually useful to look at what is PropTech. To me, PropTech is both ConTech, construction technology, and property technology. They're often a bit intermixed. Sometimes you see ConTech and sometimes you see PropTech, and then it's very easy to understand which part of the building's life stage you're in. ConTech is obviously in the construction or the building, and then property technology is in the operations and everything surrounding that, financial side also. But I see most often that PropTech is used as a sort of collective term for them both. Within the Norwegian space, there's quite a few companies out there that are yearly making sort of these lists on what's happening in Norway right now, and then they make different verticals. So here you have the buying of property, and you have finance side of property, you have real estate development and smart properties, property facilities management, and those are the big terms that we are focusing on. I only had one slide left, I think. Yeah, PropTech and ConTech I've talked about. Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Renate. Quick question from the floor. A person asking, would you consider Norway a front runner in PropTech developments?
It's a good question. I think that I don't know enough about other countries to sort of be sure about that, but I think that we're at least not far behind. And that's because of those two trends where we have we're fairly mature within the digitization wave, and we're fairly mature within the sustainability. We've worked on sustainability as a country for a while. So when you have those two huge trends happening at the same time, and then supported by the EU regulations. I think that Norway is at least, they have a lot of check boxes to be a front runner. And in addition to sort of the very fun sort of education stuff mentioned by the former presenter. I think quite possibly yes, but am I sure? No. Do I know that, for example, that we're well ahead of the US on the sustainability part of things? Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. They don't care about waste, for example. I'm sorry to generalize, but it's true. Is Europe ahead of US on the sustainability side? Absolutely. Technology side? Don't know.
Well, thank you very much, Renate. I think a lot to discuss also after our webinar, but I have to cut you short here and introduce our next speaker. We're leaving the Scandics, but we're staying in the Nordics, and I would welcome, last but not least, Mikhail Longstrom from Finland. You are the Digital Innovation Manager at Rockemus, which is the Association of Property Owners and Construction Clients, to get it right. We look forward to the trends, innovations, and the ecosystem in Finland. I think you also have a little bit of a comparison about the Nordic countries and Europe. So we look forward to your presentation, and please, we do have a couple of minutes. Also, we can go a little bit over time, so don't worry about it.
Okay, thanks, Cosima. Really nice to be here. Thanks for having me. So yes, my name is Mikhail Longstrom, and I work as a head of digital innovations on Rockemus. Like Cosima said, association for construction clients and property owners. Our members manage and operate about 60-65% of whole built environment in Finland. And some of my presentation is based on the survey that we have done for our members. I also work as the chairman for Proptech-Finland, which is a very similar organization that Jakob was explaining earlier in the first talk from Denmark. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit. I'm going to start talking to you a little bit about Proptech in Finland in general. I'm going to give you a map about the Proptech companies in Finland and a little bit of a comparison between different Nordic countries about the numbers of the Proptech companies. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the trends, what is happening at the moment in Finland. Then I'm going to give you a really brief introduction to the digital maturity level in real estate in Finland. And I'm going to end my presentation by giving you a few examples of the hubs and some companies to follow. The numbers of the Proptech companies in Finland and in Nordic in general, we have about, let's say, 150 companies each country. But when you look at it from per capita, you can find like that the Nordic countries, when you compare it to the rest of the Europe, there are many Proptech companies here. I can't say about the other Nordic countries, but I know that at least in Finland, the number of the Proptech companies is rising about 10% annually. My guess is that this will end soon, maybe next year or the year after, that the number of companies won't rise anymore, but we can start seeing like more consolidating of the Proptech companies together. So here's the map that I mentioned you about. It's operated by or managed by Proptech-Finland, and this is just the logos of the companies. But if you would like to have more deeper understanding about what kind of startup companies, Proptech companies operate in Finland, please ask, and we will give you like a soft landing, like Jakob said earlier. Here, I would like to highlight one company from Invest and Market segment called Codit.io, who got a €150 million investment late last year. And what they do is they work in the real estate and real estate agency industry, but they don't see themselves as a real estate company or agency company. They are more about tech. They are a tech company. They say that they're a tech company. And what they do is they have automated the process from buying an apartment, renovating the apartment, and then selling the apartment. And a little bit about the trends in Finland. Of course, data has been like a hot topic for a longer time. And one thing that I would like to highlight about the data is that 60% of the professional real estate companies have a separate data strategy in place. So what this means is that the companies, they understand what kind of data they have. They have been collecting from, it has been like scattered around. So they have been collecting it to one database, and they have been starting to utilize more and more APIs. And one thing about the APIs is like, for example, some company can take data from your corporation, and they can automate some process when it's about some design phase process, or when it's like managing or operating the building and so on. One thing that is, for me at least, is highly interesting about the data is when you think about APIs and when you have many different systems, and how can you operate and how can you manage when you have, let's say, 10, 20 different systems and you have different solutions to connect to these systems. And what have emerged in Finland is a company called Platform of Trust, which works as a data integrator and between like your software and then all these PropTech companies or whatever other softwares there are, or other platforms. And one example of what they do is, for example, there's this EU directive coming that for water consumption you have to start measuring it per apartment. So if you are a residential building owner, maybe you don't want to have a vendor lock. At least in Finland, the companies don't want to have a vendor lock. So they want to keep their options open. And how to make this happen is to use these kind of like platforms, like Platform of Trust. And it's operated by a community, which means that if somebody else make a connection already to the Platform of Trust, for example, your invoicing software, when you start using the platform, you can instantly start using that connection. And the same goes for these water measurement softwares and so on. Another trend thing in Finland is flexible office space. Of course, after now, when we go back to the offices, I'm going to go get my vaccine later today, and we will go back to the offices after the summer holidays. And there's a lot of like empty space now when it's about HQs of bigger corporations, or when it's like some common mutual like public space or so on, that we have seen solutions emerging on top of that are based on different IoT solutions, easy access and so on. And what they do is they rent out your empty space and they re-rent it to startups or some other corporations and so on. And then a third trend is construction management software, not the software itself that much, but what we have seen, what I said actually earlier already, is that we have seen that these like smaller companies who solve one problem really well, we have seen that these companies have been consolidating together and this gives like the end user better, kind of like more holistic software to use. But each company is trying to solve this one problem really well still. And then a little bit about the obstacles, the investments. We don't have enough investments in Finland, so every time when a company scales out of Finland, they have to go outside of Finland to get the money. A little bit about the maturity level. Finnish corporations are really eager to try new innovations, but they're not too keen to buy, or they maybe don't understand how to buy software yet. Why they are really keen to not try new innovations is because we had like a government-led program a few years ago called Kiradigi, which boosted the innovation in the built environment. And it made the companies to understand that it's okay to fail. You don't always have to make the like complete 100% working software. What it also made happen was that the companies that saw each other like rivals started to collaborate. And these companies started to create software and sell it outside of their own companies to the other companies. A little bit about the R&D investments in 2020. It's still quite low, 1 to 2% or less than 1% that the real estate companies are investing in R&D. But the good news is, I'm sorry that this is in Finnish, but they say that it will increase substantially, or at least somewhat. So we will see more investments from the real estate companies to PropTech and to new innovations. But where are the corporates investing now? Especially in AI. The first one is AI, then big data, then VR is still there, and then robotics, when it's about software robotics or hardware robotics, whenever it's about construction you're building with robotics and so on. Then lastly, quickly, some hubs and companies to follow. We are focused on operating mainly in the capital area of Helsinki, Espoo and Vantaa, where Maria 01 operates, which is, I think it's the largest startup hub in the Nordics, and they have their own branch of built environment innovations. Then we have the Proptech-Finland community that I mentioned to you earlier, and then we also have a Kira hub, which operates mostly between the public and private sector. So if public sector wants to boost the economy somehow, we have this entity called Kira hub that is handling that for our industry. The other great hub for PropTech in Finland is Oulu, where we can find a lot of different IoT solutions. Oulu is all the way, more or less all the way to Lapland, or really north of Finland. And they also have their own test beds. And then we have Forum Virium Helsinki, which is also a test bed for PropTech innovations and solutions and services. They operate in Helsinki, so it's a part of the city of Helsinki that is branded as a smart city where you can try your new solutions. And then we have one more hub in Espoo called Agrid that has about 130 startups in there. Then some companies to follow. Here I only have time to highlight one, so I'm going to highlight Betolar, which is on the left top corner. What they do is they use the industrial waste. They put them to their factory, and what comes out is a new building materials. So whatever some kind of waste, you can redo it, reuse it in your next building. One more, if I still have time, is the Rockemus Outlet, which is a marketplace that gets or buys the materials from construction sites, extra materials from construction sites. They have their own web shop and so on, and then they resell it to consumers or the other construction companies. And what is interesting about this company is that they are scaling really rapidly at the moment outside of Finland. In the lower part, there's some bigger corporations to follow. All of these companies are highly active in innovation and PropTech scene. So I recommend to follow those companies. And then if you want to have the fast track to Finnish PropTech ecosystem and innovation ecosystem in built environment, we have an event called Recotech, which is, at least as far as I know, is the biggest event for PropTech in the Nordics. So it's about 1,500 people strong event. And it's organized together with Slush, and Slush is 27,000 people strong startup event, and Recotech is focusing on PropTech and built environment. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. Sorry that it went a little bit over time.
No, we were perfectly on time. Thank you very much, Mikhail. We have time for one final question from the audience. How do you explain the high intensity and density of PropTech in Finland?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. Well, of course, education has a big play in it. But one other thing is that we used to have this huge corporation called Nokia that made mobile phones. And when Nokia collapsed, they made this program called Nokia Bridge, where every engineer and anybody who was working at Nokia who had to be laid off can find their own company. And Nokia was helping that financially and with technical knowledge. So I think that's one of the reasons why the startup companies and PropTech companies boost in 2010, 2015.
Mm. Well, thank you very much again, Mikhail, for your presentation, also for answering the question. Thank you to all the speakers for sharing their insights today. And also, of course, thank you, dear audience, for being with us today. Also, for your patience, who went a little bit over time, so I kept you a little bit from your lunch break. However, we're here for you. If your question has not been answered, and we still have some here, we'll get in touch with you after the webinar. You will get the presentations, you will get the YouTube link, and also for any other question you might have regarding our Nordic markets, please get in touch either with us here in Copenhagen or with our colleagues in Stockholm, in Oslo, and in Helsinki. We're very happy to help. And please also don't forget our signature event, the Österreichische Exporttag 2021, is taking place virtually on 29th and 30th of June. You will get keynote speeches, interesting presentations, but you will also have the possibility to sign up for B2B events with commercial counselors, Wirtschaftsdelegierten from all over the world, also with myself. Very much look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget to sign up right away, mark your calendars. Thank you very much for being with us, and wish you a great lunch break first, of course, but also a very good day. Bye-bye.